So welcome everyone. We're very excited to get started with the webinar, WaterSmart Showstoppers Meet the Plants. So let me introduce Rex Muir officially to talk about the Citrus Heights Water District. Rex?
Hello everybody, and welcome to our third in a series of three WaterSmart classes that we've been offering virtually. In the past, we would have held these in person over at the Citrus Heights Community Center, but due to conditions beyond our control, here we are on the wonderful web offering these to our customers and anyone else who would like to participate in these webinars. They will also be available to view on our website, and I think Cheryl will probably have a slide up about that at some point.
Yes.
So you can also watch them at your leisure after the classes are posted online. I do want to mention a couple of the services that we offer our customers. We do offer WaterWise house calls, and those are for folks with irrigation systems, mostly automatic timers that we go out there and we evaluate the coverage of the sprinkler heads and the efficiency of the system, and possibly give you some suggestions on how to improve your system. We won't fix anything, but we can give you suggestions and leave you with a watering schedule for your property. So I urge you to take advantage of that. It can save you some water. It's free, and it takes about an hour. One other program I'd like to mention is our rebate programs. We do have rebates for high-efficiency toilets and high-efficiency clothes washers. And recently we've added a pressure-reducing valve rebate for customers with high pressures. So if you were to install a pressure-reducing valve and had us come out and inspect it, we will issue a rebate to that customer. So those are some of our customers. If you want more information, my contact is on the left of the screen right there. And next I want to say welcome to everybody for attending. Welcome to the presenters, Cheryl, Marcia, and Rebecca. Rebecca is our quarterback of behind the scenes, so to speak. She fields the questions for us and keeps us on task, so that we finish on time and address the things we're needing to address. So welcome everybody, and I've talked enough, so let's turn it over to Cheryl.
All right.
And Marcia.
Thank you very much, Rex. I appreciate that. So yes, as Rex said, this webinar is being recorded, and it will be available soon on the Citrus Heights Water District's website, along with any handouts and other resources from all three of the webinars that we've had this week. And there in the middle of your screen is the link for that. Also, there is a little chat box on your screen. So please, anytime you would like, enter in a question there. And as Rex said, that Rebecca will be monitoring those for us. And at the end of this presentation, we will jump into answering some of those questions, as many as possible. Should it be that we're not able to get to all of the questions, though, rest assured, what we will do is we will answer the questions, and then they will be up on the Citrus Heights Water District's website as well. Also, in about a day after this webinar, you should receive a survey. And I would really appreciate it if you all would take just a few minutes to answer those questions. We are always trying to improve the delivery of the information, and that we deliver information that you want to learn about. So please be sure to take that survey. I am Cheryl Buckwalter. My company's name is Landscape Liaisons, and I have a number of certifications and qualifications for water efficient and sustainable, regenerative, lovely landscapes. So I will now turn it over to Marcia, because she is our fabulous speaker for today. Marcia, please tell everyone a little bit about yourself too.
Hello everyone, welcome. I'm Marcia Jimenez Scott. I'm a landscape designer and certified arborist, and I'm really into plants. So this is a perfect fit for me, a plant webinar. I'm passionate about the whens, wheres, and hows of making plants grow and creating healthy, successful landscapes. I try to create this webinar with simplicity for you in mind. I'm hoping you'll find the ideas today approachable, useful, and successful. Feel free to contact me if you need to. My contacts are on this slide. There's an email address up there. I'd be happy personally to answer questions about trees or plants for you, or even your landscapes. I also have a fair amount of education in saving water, so you can ask me water questions if you'd like. As a landscape designer, I feel a successful landscape is a place rich with opportunity for plants and habitat, and especially a place for you to thrive, because it's your yard. Let's get started creating your new landscape. Next. Are we able to create satisfying landscapes and be mindful of our future on this planet? Can we have it all? With a shift in attitude, we're able to redefine what all is. We can find delight and beauty in a landscape that serves not only our senses, but the needs of our environment as well. Next. Here in the Sacramento Valley, our natural environment is oak woodlands, dry grasslands, and oak riparian forests. We have a really rich environment that we live in. If you haven't gone out and explored it, it's a great natural environment you should see. We have a Mediterranean climate, which means long, hot, dry stretch for 5 to 7 months, followed by mild winters, where we typically get all our rainwater in a few months. Two extremes, it makes for difficult landscaping. Our landscaping practices and plant choices will be most successful if we respect these facts about this natural environment. We can transform our landscapes into our own outdoor oases, spaces that satisfy both us and the needs of our local ecology. Next. Why should we care? Why should we care? If not us, then who? We need to care about ourselves. We need to care about our future. We need to care about our planet. It's our home. Do we want to deplete the earth forever until it's all used up? You can see from the diagram that at our best green level, we aren't even sustainable. We're still in a degenerative system. Our goal can be loftier and still be realistic, to restore and regenerate our earth so we help it to survive and thrive. And that actually comes right home to you in your own yard. You can start practicing ways that are healthy for our planet. Next. I just can't help myself. I'm obviously into trees. Well, just for a second, imagine a world without trees. Hard to imagine. Plant trees. Besides creating some pretty amazing outdoor spaces, they provide so many benefits. Personally, they benefit the way you feel, not just the way you imagine you feel, but their presence can actually physically change you. Scientific studies say trees can slow your heartbeat, can lower your blood pressure, and they can relax your brainwave patterns. There are lots of other benefits to trees, but you owe it to yourself to plant them. Plant trees. My own little arborist plug there. Next. You want to be thoughtful when choosing plants for your landscape. Perhaps you've heard the terms right plant, right place. That means the plant is climate zoned for your area. It's the right width and height for the space it will live in. It will get its required sun exposure, part sun or shade. It will thrive on the amount of water you can give it, which with our California water scene, that will be low water. And finally, it will require a certain level of maintenance, your energy, to keep it thriving. Your showstopper lists account for many of these details, although you may certainly want to consider other plants. Most of all, make thoughtful plant choices. Consider size and sun exposure, water use, and the lifetime maintenance needs of the plant. I will say that though that you're going to get lists, showstopper lists, and these lists are wise places to start your plant searches. I've already done some of the plant research for you on these lists. Next. Create habitat. One of the goals for your regenerative landscape is to create habitat. You will enrich your own life if you share your outdoor home and turn it into a local habitat hangout. Think birds, bees, butterflies, moths, beetles. It will make each visit to your garden an adventure of sights and sounds as you witness who actually uses it. You want to encourage life, so hey, no harmful chemicals, please. Out of respect for life in the soil, life above the soil, and your own life. No chemicals. Your showstopper plants all provide good local habitat value for birds, pollinators, and beneficial insects. Next. Hey, you guys, I do know this is supposed to be a webinar about plants, so here we go. Next. Meet the plants. These plants include plants from areas of the world with Mediterranean climates, including our California Central Valley. They were selected to be successful in your climate zone. California native plants are especially well suited to landscapes here. They have many of the benefits that contribute to regenerative landscape in California. Choose natives that require low water, as some of them require more than low water, even though they're native. California native plants support more local habitat than plants from other areas, and that habitat has high value to the critters. The plants smell good to the local habitat. The food the plants provide tastes good to the local habitat. The local habitat is adapted to the nutrition that the plants provide. You get the picture. Mom's home cooking compared to Mickey D's. California natives are specifically adapted to our soils and seasons, which translate to success for your garden. So whenever possible, choose California native plants to use in your garden. Next. Be assured that even though this webinar is focused on landscape regeneration principles, the top priority is landscape success for you. I realize that an ugly landscape makes for an unhappy gardener, and we want to create your joyful oasis. The plants on these lists are all decent looking. Some of the plants are downright beautiful. They all live up to their showstopper name. With them, you can create a rich garden show for your own life. Next. Next. On this sketch, I'm showing the plant sizes you'll need to fill out your garden. I've chosen types and sizes that are helpful to me when I am designing a planted plan for a landscape. Each shape has a code. Each code has a corresponding list. First, in green are the trees. Large trees over 30 feet, code A. Code B, small trees 10 to 30 feet. And then the shrubs, C's, shrubs 10 to 15 feet, all the way down to F, shrubs 2 to 4 feet. Then the perennials following the gut. Then the perennials, these guys are the showy guys. G and perennials 1 to 4 feet, and H, ground covers and perennials under a foot. At the end there are I and J, the grasses and the vines. Next. The first page of the showstopper list looks like this. The plants on these lists correlate by code letter and colors to the sketch on the previous slide. At first, this chart looks complicated, but it's actually pretty simple, you guys. I think you can use it. For example, the A plants in dark green are a list of large trees, and in the preceding slide, Cheryl, if you could go back to the preceding slide, be great. A is a dark green tree. Back to the chart, please. Next. Cheryl, if you could go back to the, oh, there you go. The list is arranged left to right, botanical name of a plant first, then the common name to the right. Plants often have many common names, but only one botanical name. That is important for identifying the correct plant for purchasing, internet searching, and whenever the correct type of plant name is required. Further to the right, the column lists the mature height and width of the plant, so you can pay attention to right plant, right place, and not have to go 50 feet in the air like that guy on the bucket truck did. Then the plant's required sun conditions match the plant to your own site's sun exposure conditions. If you have shade, put plants in that need shade and can't tolerate full sun. If you have full sun, make sure you pick full sun plants. Flowering, then next, flowering color, and finally, the water requirements rating. And this was the hardest category for me to meet for this list, and it can be challenging for you, so pay attention to it. I used WUCLs for this, the Water Use Classification of Landscape Species, which is a very easy to use California list where it ranks most plants by their water use. All the plants on these lists are compatible with any low water irrigation regimen. So all of them are low or very low plants that water requirements. The showstopper list is comprised of more than 40 plants. The link to the list will be given you at the end of the slide presentation. So one more talk about the WUCLs list. Just for example, lawns are a very high rating on WUCLs. So that's where you start, really super high. And this list is for really low plants. They use, I don't know, less than an eighth of the water that a lawn uses. And we're on to the next photo, a few photos of the plants. Next. Codes A and B are the trees. It can be said the trees create the frame of a landscape. They shape the space, adding vertical mass to complement the house. A are large trees or medium trees over 30 feet. So others on the list they're not all oaks, but there are a few oaks on this list. Oaks are an especially great choice. They are an ecological oasis just by themselves. Lie under an oak for a few minutes and you will witness some of the lively community that depends on it. Also, oaks sequester a large amount of carbon, just if you're curious about carbon sequestration. Oaks are the best plant to provide habitat for birds. They harbor tiny caterpillars in the spring. Most birds need caterpillars to raise their young. So if you want birds, you need caterpillars. The caterpillars do not permanently harm the oaks. They're just really tiny, and the oaks are quite adapted to them. The trees on the list are also chosen for climate adaptability, as our climate will be changing over the lifespan of a tree. Some other large trees on the list: thornless honey mesquite from the southwest, and shoestring acacia, a weeping tree from Australia. Code B includes the small trees, 10 to 30 feet. This size of tree is useful as a vertical accent, and usually we can choose with some beautiful feature in mind. The western redbud pictured is a California native example, but you'll see others on the list that include plants like crepe myrtle from Asia, Oklahoma redbud, a non-native redbud from the US. Both non-natives are well adapted to a Mediterranean climate like ours. Next. On to code C and code D, the large shrubs. For these guys, be sure to allow enough room for them. They're big. Choose the right plants for the right place. Code C, these tall shrubs are often used as problem solvers. Most of them on list C are evergreen. They can act as effective screening shrubs for added privacy or elimination of an unwanted view. For instance, they can screen out your neighbor's garbage cans or provide privacy for a bathroom window. In the photo, Hartman Wnd Lilac is a California native. Examples of other plants are Grecian laurel, the Bay of Cooking, pomegranate, although to get decent fruit, you'll need to water it more. But it does have pretty flowers even on a low water regimen. In code D, these are shrubs from 6 to 10 feet. The size of these shrubs usually means they are in the background of a planting bed. They can soften walls or fences and will add a layer of depth to a large grouping of plants. Some others besides the western spice bush shown here, and that guy is a native, California native. Other plants, a Delta Blues chase tree, a smaller chase tree with indigo blue flowers, gorgeous plant. Purple bottlebrush, a smaller bottlebrush with pinky lilac flowers, unlike the red ones you're used to. Next. Code E and code F are medium-sized shrubs, the workhorses of the bunch. For very little of your energy, which translates to low maintenance, these actors are all focused on landscape success. They all have at least one seasonal bloom time, are all supportive of different aspects of habitat, and are all good looking. For example, in Code E, that's the Robin Gordon grevillea pictured. It actually dislikes fertilizer, blooms throughout the year, and is exceptionally attractive to hummingbirds. Some other plants on the E list, bush anemone, a California native, particularly attractive, which copes with shade well, and Tuscan blue upright rosemary, the best rosemary for cooking, which makes a substantial and not prostrate 5 feet by 5 foot shrub. On Code F, that is a blue sage, and I can't rave enough about the native sages. One is shown here and another is on the list. They have it all: aromatics, long-lasting, lovely blooms, easy care, low water, and there's quite a variety of them available. So sages are a great choice. Most lavenders also work for you. A different lavender on the list than you're used to is Merlot lavender, chosen mostly for its pale yellow foliage addition to the landscape, rather than for its infrequent blooms. Next. Codes G and H will put pizzazz in your garden. These perennials live year-round in your climate. They are the dramatic actors of the group. Most of them will happily bloom with little input from you. As perennials, they perform in multiple seasons, usually giving you a prolonged or repeat bloom time. You might consider them the stars of your garden show. In Code G is pictured a foothill penstemon, which indeed is a wildflower in the Sierra foothills. It grows naturally on my property at 3,000 feet. It lives only about 2 years on irrigation, but it blooms so beautifully in spring and early summer that it is definitely worth having. To get it to live longer, you give it less water, but then it doesn't bloom as much. Code H, what's shown is ground covers. And ground covers for most of you is the Holy Grail, or so you might think. I originally titled these plants perennials 1 foot and under, so you wouldn't use them as a bunch of the same type of plants together to replace the square footage of a lawn. You'll be happiest if you dispel the notion of finding one magic plant type to replace a lawn and rather mix up the plant choices. A lawn is a destructive phenomenon all its own. Or you can paint the dirt green. A smooth green is what you crave. Seriously, the plants listed on Code H are quite interesting and have made their way into many of my own plant designs lists. Fruity germander is a stellar plant, by the way. Also among this list are California poppies, hens and chicks, and sundrops, all uniquely showy. Next. Lastly are the grasses and the vines. In the grasses, Karl Foerster feather reedgrass is shown here. It's a very dramatic grass by late summer, easy care. You cut the foliage down 1 time a year. I'll note here that most people just love Mexican feathergrass. That particular grass is invasive in California. So I urge you instead to choose Peruvian feathergrass, which is on the list. That grass is safer, it's not a self-seeder. And for the vines, most vines really like water. So you only have a few choices here for low water vines. This California Dutchman's pipe vine is a particularly interesting plant. It provides habitat for the pipe vine swallowtail butterfly, larva habitat, and it has these really cool weird striped flowers and is native to the Sacramento Valley. It loses its leaves, likes part shade, can eventually grow quite long, and can even be an informal ground cover. It's one of those plants that come with bragging rights. Oh, you didn't know? Your showstopper yard will come with bragging rights along with all its other benefits. Next. Let's talk briefly about how to assure your plants stay looking good. Your success with plants depends on giving them the conditions that help them thrive. If you put a plant in the full sun and it needs shade to thrive, it will most likely burn up in the sun. If you put a plant that needs sun in full shade, that poor plant will be pining for more sun. Along with good soil and the right amount of water, plants also need the correct sun or shade exposure. The showstopper plant lists indicate what kind of light each plant needs to thrive. When you choose your plants, pay attention to sun exposure. The sun angle changes through the year. In our landscapes in the Sacramento Valley, we are most concerned with your most extreme season, which is the summer, and its sun exposure, which is critical from May to September, 11 a.m. in the day till 5 p.m. in the afternoon. Hot stuff. Keep track of your sun patterns in the summer for your thoughtful plant choices. And finally, the time of year you plant does make a difference. In the fall, you'll be more successful if you plant in late fall through early spring. The closer you get to summer, watering effectively will be more difficult, most particularly with low water plants. Low water plants do not like to be watered frequently. Root establishment is what they need, not frequent water. Not this every day for 20 minutes thing. A lot of them will die from that. Dead plants have very few benefits. Next. And then to lay out some of your landscape ideas, think outside the box. Sometimes it's more effective for me to visualize a layout on site rather than on paper. You'll find it helps to visualize if you physically, in your own yard, lay out objects that represent your ideas. Make sure you use very temporary materials to start the process, like hoses and chalk, and have the marking materials become more permanent, like stakes or even layout paint, as you commit to your ideas. Next. And finally, you have received some wonderful tools to go out and landscape your own gardens and create success. Share with other people what you learned here this week, even the tiniest bit. Take chances, sow some seeds, spread the word. Help regenerate our ailing earth, and thank you, all of you, for listening.
Thank you very much, Marcia. That was great. A lot of good information. And I just want to reiterate that, yes, that showstopper plant list, well, it's a number of lists, will be available on the Citrus Heights Water District's website along with this webinar that's recorded. And there will be a PDF of the PowerPoint presentation as well. So what kinds of questions can we answer? And are there any other tips? You know, yesterday, one thing I wanted to say to get this rolling, and we have a couple of minutes for questions, and that is yesterday someone asked Marcia about whether they needed to apply water to irrigate within a tree's canopy. And I don't think the question included whether it was a young tree or mature tree, but what are your thoughts about that as an arborist?
Well, what I think is it's important to know if it's a young tree or mature tree. If it's a tree that just got planted within the last few years, some of that water should be right near the trunk, unfortunately, because that's where its roots were when it was grown in the container. As it gets older, naturally the roots want to spread out. So it depends on if you have a lot of plants out there getting irrigated or not. If you don't, then putting in those concentric rings that Martine showed us yesterday on an inline system, it would be the way to water it. And usually those are most affected out at the canopy or even a little bit beyond. So right at the canopy, at least in a few feet there. Most people, I will tell you, do not do that. Most people though have a lot of other plants. So that's the water the trees are going after. They're opportunistic. They have studied trees in urban environments, and most of those trees function off of water leaks, actually, from the buildings. Yeah.
That's interesting. That's where Citrus Heights Water District comes in, I'm thinking. So here is a question. Thank you, Marcia. Would it be possible to get some sample layouts for plants that work well together? For example, I have a full sun area and I'd like to plant something, but I'm afraid to put something that will simply burn up and die.
Can I answer this one?
Yes.
Well, on those lists, you pick the plant, the code for the plant height you want. And then you look over and all those little open sun circles, those are the guys you're gonna choose from. And all these plants happily play together because they live on the same water regimen. They have the same low maintenance requirement, same low fertilizer requirement. These lists are made for you to just sort of pick and choose right off the list straight into your yard. So that full sun, that should eliminate all the shade plants immediately for you.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. And there's another list that is available throughout this region. It's called the WaterSmart plant list for the Sacramento region. So you could just Google that, and that has a lot of information about plants, and the common name, you can click on it to get online photos. So it goes online and shows you lots and lots of photos of those plants. But Marcia has done a lot of work for us all by carefully selecting these plants so you can be creative and know that you're in what I would refer to as the safe zone, because all these plants can be compatible or are compatible and can work together based on, but keep in mind, the plants that want full sun, they want full sun. So group them in that way. And we've talked a little bit about hydrozones before, grouping plants by their water requirements in addition to sun. We have another question. Is the Dutchman pipe vine available locally? What do you think, Marcia?
Yeah, you should be able to find it. You might have to hunt a little bit, but certainly probably not from you just drive down the street to your local nursery, but there are plenty of online sources for that guy. And a lot of times you can find them also at California Native Plant Society sales because it's a California native.
Yes.
So all the plants on the list were available. I made sure I checked to make sure you guys could buy them. So they're out there for sale.
And it might be that at certain times of the year, plants will be available and not available at other times. Of course, because like nurseries, for example, retail nurseries, they want to sell plants when they look just their absolute optimum. They're flowering or they've got their great foliage or whatever the best characteristic is. But that is a great resource, the California Native Plant Society. And they just Google that and, they'll have plant sales and all. So keep that in mind. Any other questions? We are basically out of time though. So if there are any others that come in, we will answer them. And it looks like Rebecca's informed us that everything is taken care of. No other questions. So thank you once again for joining us. And I'll let Rex close it out for us.
Fantastic. I want to thank the presenters, Marcia and Cheryl, again for presenting today. Great presentation. And again, thanks for Rebecca for keeping us in order here. Thank you for watching our seminar or webinars, and you're more than welcome to go to our website at chwd.org to download the previous webinars that we've had that can build off of all of these. So thank you again for participating, and we look forward to the next round of classes, which keep an eye on our website to find out the dates and times.
Very good. Thank you, everybody. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Thanks, Cheryl. Thanks, everybody.
You're welcome.
Thanks, Rex.
Thanks, Marcia.